OGaccountability.com.
All right. Well, we speaking of wood chippers, we're back on, man. And sometimes I think we should just record when we're talking. You know, sometimes just because we
really want to get picked up. It's okay to laugh.
people got to quit messing with kids, man. That's where my outrage.
You know what? Like, I knew a lot. I didn't know. I figured a lot. I was just trying to be realistic and objective, as hard and as scary as it was. I remember thinking, what is it going to take? Like, what is it really going to take to wake the public up to a point where people might start pushing back? I was like, I really think that when they catch people messing with these kids, it might change.
Well, look at what happened whenever these school boards started messing with kids.
Yeah, but they've been messing with the kids for a long time.
Look what the Muslim community did.
But they've been doing it for a long time. They got caught during COVID. That's what I mean. I was like, if these people ever get caught, yes.
Yeah.
Because I remember going home, 20 years ago, I left college. And I remember, I was living with my parents at the time because I was in college, And I remember going and telling them, guys, do y'all understand, like what these people are saying? Like, I just sat through my first day of sociology class, and the class was about how evil white people are, and I've never heard such racist things. Like, this is crazy. I don't want to spend my life doing this. And I forget what I was even talking about. I'm sorry.
Hey, I got a really good testament to what you're just talking about. And he watches, and I hope he doesn't get upset. But my nephew's going to a pretty prestigious college, and we went through that shift. We're all stupid, and but this last semester, like this summer, he's been home. He's like, I don't like the stuff they're saying anymore. Like, it's in kids, like young kids, like young men. He's not a kid. Are waking up going, wait a second, what does this have to do with learning 2 + 2 is 4? And why are we talking about? I'm paying you, and you're talking about stuff that has nothing to do with.
That's why I left 20 years ago. I can only imagine how bad it is now. But I remember now. I would go home and just be like, Mom, Dad, I know I'm grown up in college and everything, but like, this is scary. These are professors. These are supposed to be like respectable people in serious leadership positions, and they're all like this. Like, do y'all understand that this is a serious problem? This 20 years ago, and I'm like, oh, well, just mind your own business and people can do what they want. Okay, I guess.
No, because when they find out you're not with them, they'll drive you out.
Well, it's just like, I could tell way back then that we have a really serious problem here. Like, institutions like schools, which you're supposed to be able to trust school. It's school. Like, you're supposed to like revere education. That's a good thing. You're supposed to care about learning. These places are insane. Like, is anybody ever going to do anything about this?
Well, it's not. It's no longer about broadening people's minds and helping them learn how to think critically. It's become about influencing them.
It's teaching them how to be indoctrinated foot soldiers for the communist regime.
It's indoctrination is all it is.
It's Mao's Cultural Revolution here in America. It started a few decades ago.
I don't want any part of it. I don't want my daughter any part of it. And excluding us here, I think that there is more people out there that think like us than there are that think the other way. It's just their control of the airwaves. They have control of information, of news, even in the music. When a guy doesn't say one thing about race, and then I can go through and listen to almost any rap star talking about robbing people, shooting people, Cardi B singing about her woman parts and how they are, and there's no outrage over that, but a guy just says, hey, try that in a small town, you'll find out what America's made of. Suddenly it doesn't fit their narrative. But when Joe talked about people are voting with their pocketbook, this is what I love. The majority is speaking. Jason, I almost call him Aladdin. Jason Aldean, he is over. That's what they call him over in like overseas. It's Jason Aladdin. That's a joke. I'm a racist. They drove him to the #1 single sell of a country artist in the past 15 years, 10 or 15 years.
It goes to show how tired everybody is of these opinions. Like, people really don't like you
They're
all.
sick of it. People are fed up. People are fed up with, and I think we're going to see more outrage, intelligent outrage. Intelligent outrage is good. The reason is it's a chess move. My father teaching us growing up, he taught us to think at life like a chess game. Always be a few moves ahead. And we allow our dollar to tell you what we support. Now, there's certain areas you're not going to get around. People are going to have to buy vehicles, and you're going to have to buy a vehicle maybe from a company. You're going to have to buy milk. Certain things. But when it comes to where I shop and certain things that I do buy, electives, beer, alcohol is an elective. It's not a necessity. Most people spend more on their electives now than they do on their necessities. And on that elective, when you have millions of people who say you no longer get my elective income, that's a vote. That's outrage. And that's positive outrage. Intelligent outrage. What happened to intelligence?
Well, like outrage that's not backed up by like I had to learn this the hard way. Like I spent a long time, like years, just getting angry at the internet and the TV, and just being like, I can't believe, and just like screaming at the sky. But it finally, like I finally realized, like just the pit that I was in of just anger and just like and frustration. It made me go and get involved in places, and now I've gotten involved around the community in different things. Like I'm excited about Joe's thing, and I really want to start helping with the human trafficking efforts because Houston is a hub for all that stuff.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it's like, I think that's one good way to channel outrage. You have a right, we all have a right to be pretty angry about a lot of things right now, but, channel that into action instead of just being mad, or you'll poison yourself.
Right. Yeah, when we tried to put a flyer together for the event this weekend, raising funds for, to combat human trafficking, and then when we tried to boost it, it got rejected. They wouldn't even let us put money behind it.
Isn't that crazy?
It's wild. What in that ad, a fundraiser to help, a good cause, a noble cause, a just cause, and now you're not going to let us get the word out to the public.
Well, why would anybody be criticizing the Sound of Freedom movie? But they are.
I don't know.
Because they're probably pedophiles and human traffickers. Why else would you?
And you hate to always think like, oh, this could, those conspiracy theories. Now it's like, damn, what are they really doing?
Well, even the word conspiracy theory was invented to try to get people to try to shut people up
Yeah.
and slander people. It doesn't make you some paranoid mental illness sufferer to ask intelligent, observation-based questions about your reality.
It's pretty simple. If I have somebody who has a porn addiction and I find porno mags in my house after they were here, I can probably tell you where they came from. If I have somebody that is a known coke addict and I find coke somewhere,
Like in the West Wing of the.
Well, I wasn't going to name names, but we all know it, yes.
Oh yeah, Hunter Biden's a cokehead.
They don't know whose it was.
We don't know whose it is.
Yeah.
But so here's where I'm at. Do they really think we're that
Well, you
stupid?
saw that interview
Yes,
with Mike,
yes,
right?
they do.
Yes.
You saw the interview with Mike, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where Mike's like, no, they know who it is.
They know who
They know
it
who it
is.
is.
Absolutely.
They've known who it is.
Do you think Joe's like this? I'm like, son, what are you doing? Knock the crap out. What are you doing? You idiot. You brought
No.
cocaine.
I think Joe's like, oh, you're my son?
No, I will. I'll tell you what.
Could be.
Ruling
Poor
class
guy.
people, they like being able to throw their privilege in the peasants' faces. Like you remember the time that Gavin Newsom got caught eating out with
Yeah.
the
Yes.
restaurant?
Yeah.
That was on purpose. He knew he knew that cameras were there. They allow themselves to be photographed. That's another part of communist propaganda. We're in charge, you're not.
well, it's like Maxine Waters when she was breaking code and what they were doing when they were interviewing the guy. It's one of Trump's head guys, but she basically said, well, I understand that there was a way to do things, but I hold the gavel now. So basically what she's saying is, I do whatever the heck I want.
Do
something
something.
about it.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Well, we're at that point now. Just the level of corruption that they're not even trying to hide anymore. In my opinion, is because they're not scared of facing any consequences.
No, because they control the Justice Department.
Right. They control everything.
And when you weaponize that,
And they're successful, that's a scary place to be because
Well, that's
now
where we are.
look like when we talked about Andrew Tate, now they can come against you with a charge and you can be 100% innocent. But
Donald Trump comes to mind.
what are you going to do when you have the FBI kicking your door down?
Hopefully, this whole thing that they're doing with Trump.
Hopefully they identify themselves before they do.
Well, look what happened to what's Roger Stone?
Oh yeah.
When they
Well,
should-
you're dragging an elderly man out of his house with cameras there
And-
at 3 a.m.
And the
for one
camera
reason.
and CNN got there 14 minutes before the FBI did.
That's what thugs in totalitarian banana republic places do. They drag political opponents out and try to intimidate people. It is beyond belief what we're allowing to go on in this country.
Absolutely, it is.
Well, did you hear the story that's coming out about the judgment yesterday, or the judge's decision yesterday? Hunter Biden's attorneys, okay, called the court. There was some motion that they filed, and they tried to say that the House Ways and Means Committee or one of the committees had hired an attorney to file some motion for some information, and the Hunter Biden's attorneys or paralegals from his office, they traced the call back to that office, was trying to call and say, hey, yeah, we're the paralegals for the committee, and we just wanted to pull that motion. Yes. Yeah, acting as the opposing attorney's paralegals to have it pulled. And that's one of the other reasons the judge was like, wait a second. Yeah. That's dirty. That's completely outrageous behavior.
Well, you talking about
outrageous behavior.
outrageous behavior, and that was really the thing when I started traveling in my early 20s out to the coast a lot. That was my outrage that just made me. Oh, I was so angry. I would meet like people like that, like just these like power players, like in DC or New York or something like that. Like I'd just in mixed company because you're in media and you meet people. The way they would talk, just the way they would talk was just infuriating. It was on one side it was, look at all these disgusting rednecks that don't live in my city, and just everybody in the middle of the country is an idiot who needs to die. I mean, literally, the way they talk about everybody who doesn't live in LA and New York is like there would be a revolution tomorrow if people knew how they were talked about by these people. But then on the flip side of it, it's also, how do we lie and scam and cheat to make more money? Like, how do we lie to it's just, you're equal parts hateful and dishonest and cruel and corrupt, and you don't even care that you're a thief. You don't even care that you're lying to people. I mean, it's beyond belief. Like, that was really the moment when that plus dropping out of college because of what I saw there, like, really solidified for me that we have some really serious problems here with our power structure.
I think it's time people get positive outrage in their life and start standing up. What we're seeing is when good men and women, if we allow them to, but when good men, that was a joke, we want women too. When good men and women finally stand up and say, "Hey, enough," because if we don't stand, we'll wake up one day and not even begin to. We'll wake up one day and have to be speaking Chinese.
Well, our best
our best way forward as of right now is really like we're so far into like the communist subversion in this country that we're where Eastern Europe was when they had to start pushing back with parallel economies. We need parallel economies, which is one of the
Well, that would show them, would it?
It would. Well, to get away from this ESG stuff, which is just another manipulation tactic to get you to do what they want. It's, no, we really need that because, Bud Light, they're going to change. None of these corporations that are run by ESG standards, frankly, they're ever going to change. And the only way forward is building our own economy, our own everything, and balkanizing.
I think that they do all this. They create these woke movements, create their own industries. I think that's what it is. They create industries they can make money in.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly
like
what
DEI.
And
like
when they wear it out, they come up with something new.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly believe
Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben. Were people really outraged over that?
No.
A bunch of stupid white people were.
Yeah, it's always stupid.
I never heard one like, what?
It's always white liberals. That's why Malcolm X told people to stay away from
Well,
him.
that's why they killed him. That's why
MLK too.
MLK. That's why they killed him.
And when we get into positive outrage, I don't ever want to use the term because this was used in the woke movement that if you don't speak about it, then you're part of the problem. That was part of the woke deal. Like whenever BLM came out and I saw so many people on Facebook well, if you don't put a comment on this or that, you're part of the issue and the problem. No, once again, my outrage is not that. My outrage is to live in a free country, to be able to pray freely, to to be able to go where I want, do what I want, make something out of myself. And if I don't make something out of myself and I become a failure, it's my fault. If I become a success, it's my fault. I want my daughter to grow and have freedoms, and her be able to go to school and realize that she is a woman. She is fearfully and wonderfully created. She is so different in everything a man could never be, and never have to grow up in a world to think, is a man ever going to have to fight me because she wants to get into jiu-jitsu, so now she's got to fight a he, she, and all this stuff. That should never be there. So find a place to get plugged into, and if you believe in it, have some positive outrage. Get involved in like what Joe and them are doing. Human trafficking is humongous. Why don't we're sending billions and billions and billions of money laundering to Ukraine. Why are they not putting that into human trafficking here in America?
Because they're
laundering all that money in Ukraine and paying their friends. That whole war, like every war since Napoleon, was started by the ruling class. They fund both sides. It's how they make money. I don't know what's going on over there, but whatever it is, we're being lied to about it.
Absolutely we are. Absolutely we are. And,
when we talk about information outrage, whatever, do you hear about Burisma anymore?
A
little bit. I heard something about it yesterday.
But I mean, you really,
but that's the whole thing. The wool is being pulled back now.
Yes,
right?
the veil is lifting.
Yes.
It's very encouraging.
Yes,
it is encouraging.
And look, I don't want to put too much weight in what you hear on Fox News or any
propaganda
national, any outlet, right? But from from the bits and pieces that you hear about, that's being lifted. You're right. Like that, even that judge was like, no, this isn't going to work. This isn't how this works. You don't get to have your weapons charge dismissed, right? Which carries a 10-year sentence.
It's a serious felony.
Yes,
yeah.
right.
We would be put under the jail.
Yes.
100%. Anybody else would. And this same judge just got through sentencing somebody to 10 years for a weapons charge, for illegal possession of a weapon.
Good for this judge.
And she's a Democrat-appointed judge.
But good for this judge. You would really hope that Democrat...
That means she's a constitutionalist.
Yes.
You would hope
100%
that Democrat, Republican, or whatever, don't we care about what's right here,
and
you
wrong.
Guys? Yeah. I understand that we can have different political views and worldviews and have a few differences, but right is right and wrong is wrong,
yes.
guys. This is a clear, unequal application of justice, and a legal professional should care about that.
It's become agenda driven, and when you are so much in such a position to get your agenda across, you blur every line just to get. You don't care if you have to do wrong, just as long as my agenda. And that can happen in business. That can happen in politics. That can happen in your home. I'm gonna tell you something. And Joe, we're men. I know some jackass men that are such fools in their family because they're like, by God, I'm the man of this house. It'll live and die by me. And they're 100% wrong about some of the things that they stand for, not just by opinion. I mean, wrong. But they have that thought process. It's almost like this. My dad's been a pastor for 40 years. He's been all over the world. He teaches tours overseas. He's poured his whole life into studying, not just here. He goes to places and finds out, and we just laugh sometimes. Then he'll have some guy come and visit with his family that's never read the Bible, never stepped foot into a church, and they're going to sit there, he's an idiot, he's wrong. And they couldn't even tell you where Genesis is. And it's like...
Well, they're not ready to listen.
But so... What happens is when you get into a position of outrage like that, know what you're outraged about. And that is the blind leading the blind with the media. I just put a narrative out there, and there's some person that's never even thought about maple syrup. And they're like, well, hey, they're right. Aunt Jemima shouldn't be on it. And it's like, bro, you never thought about that today in your life until you were programmed with it. Right. But there's some people, they get stuck in this small thought process, and it can be
in the matrix.
They're in a matrix, or you can also be in a small town mentality. Huffman had that for many years. When I never forget when our family came to Huffman and decided to start a church, they did not want us here. Somebody caught a car on fire and drove it through our church.
Jeez, man.
I mean, they did not want us here.
That's really rude.
At school, we would have school events, and I'm not going to name any teachers' names because I'm still friends with them. We would have youth events. Sometimes 250 kids show up. And there was a teacher at our school that went to a different church and found out we'd have events. She would tell kids, if you come to this church on Wednesday night, you get 100 on your next test grade. I mean, We fought. Oh, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that happened in this
Almost
town.
like Irish need not apply, right?
And then, like, we were
Kinda.
told we did human sacrifice, animal sacrifice, and I'm like,
Why did people hate you so much?
because we were different. Do you remember Richard Sears? Yeah. So he and I became good friends. We worked together. So he started coming to our church. He's like, bro, he's like, I should have been coming here for years.
Sears grew up in Indian Shores.
Yeah. And he's like, I love your pastor. Like, he's just to call it like it is. He goes, y'all are nothing like what I thought you were. I said, you heard from people who have never even been here or know us. And that is what's happening in the media with Outrage. They're listening to people who have they're not being vetted, and people are just talking heads knowing that there'll be somebody who buys into their narrative.
Yeah.
And that's scary, very scary.
Yeah.
100%. And there are people out there who are easily influenced by them, right? They're incapable of critical thinking. You know,
It's the ruling class people figured that out a long time ago. I have two things on my reading list that I need to read. They're not long, so I need to get to it. But one is The Psychology of the Crowd by Gustav Le Bon, and the other one is Propaganda by Edward Bernays.
I want to read that.
Yeah, they're
heard
both.
that was good.
It's all about herd mentalities and and groupthink and like what happens to human psychology in groups. It changes a lot, and they manipulate that.
people want to be a part of something.
To a certain extent, it's like human nature and it's survival instinct, and it's like it's just our own nature is exploited and weaponized against us.
Yep, strength in groups, strength in numbers.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
and you
And
need to
you
belong to
said it-
survive. And
You
then-
said it right, Liz. And then get people where they don't trust their own thoughts and their own thinkings.
Right.
Let me think for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I know enough about listening to that Yeonmi Park girl that escaped from North Korea. Remember Joe Rogan interviewed
Yeah.
her? Like I've gone down some rabbit holes like investigating things about her and like what she puts out and stuff. From what I can tell, like that's one of the most brutal totalitarian dictatorships on this planet, if
Yeah.
not probably number one.
Yeah.
It would be North Korea.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, but like,
Absolutely.
but she, you just listen to her just on Joe Rogan, much less looking into other things. Like, that's how they control people. They starve everyone because you can't think about anything but food if you're starved. Like, that's a huge control technique. But it's also, you're not educated. Like, things are so deteriorated now that nobody has a point of reference. And that's what they're trying to do in this country. We're 5 generations deep into a lot of subversion. And so it gets easier and easier to subvert people. But that's from what I can tell, that's what the dictatorship does in North Korea. It's one of many things they do is you don't know it's real. You don't know it's true. And at this point, like they have total information control. So you just know what they tell you.
It's just
They don't. The state has no. The state owns the TV program, so
They'll
it's
tell you what they want you to believe.
that's it. That's all you get. There is, and if you get caught with any westernized material, they may throw you in jail, and you don't ever know when you're getting out,
Or they'll kill. Yeah.
or they'll kill you.
They'll kill you.
Or they'll send you back to the United States like as a vegetable, like they did that one kid.
Otto
Yeah.
Warmbier.
Yes.
yeah.
What'd they give him? Because that kid, he
died.
eventually died.
Yeah.
He
died.
eventually died, huh? They
And
poisoned the hell
was
out
it
of him.
because they thought he took a poster?
I think he just crossed the border by accident.
No, he
stole
vandalized
something.
a border or a poster or something. He
Yeah.
did
According to
something.
them.
According to them.
Right.
According to them. Yeah, I just got to.
say it, and people are like, "Oh, you're a Trumpster." I'm not a Trumpster. I'm for whoever's going to put America first.
Me too.
When he walked into the DMZ, I'm just like, "What?" I'm like, they should have played here. War Come With Me.
That was a big deal.
That's a
People forget
powerful
about
moment.
That is huge,
Huge.
huge,
Right? Huge.
and he didn't skip a beat.
No.
And Trump, if he could clean up how he talks, but he can't. He's got to be who he is. Yeah, but I agree with a lot he does. I don't agree
do
with
too.
some of the things he does. But I'm going to tell you, here's the deal. I have worked for people growing up. I remember I was working for an oil company, and one of the guys I was working for, he was a jerk, but he paid me very well. And at the end of the day, when that clock got clicked, he was a different person. When you have to be oh my God, I almost said something I should have said. When you have to be the head person in charge, you gotta not be easily moved. You gotta say, hey, this is what's going to be, and if you don't like it, people are like, well, he fired so many people that were helping him out of his cabinet. Well, it's pretty simple. If you're not here to be part of the solution and you're trying to go to old world tactics, Bye.
Yeah, look. Old is out, the new is in. That's what Trump did more than anything. He showed people where the corruption was in Washington, and he wanted to do things different.
He didn't realize how deep it went within the
Yeah, and he played into their hands some.
swamp's deep.
Yeah, swamp's deep. I don't think he realized how deep.
Well, he got surrounded by some bad people. Some of that was his fault. Some of it wasn't his fault. But I've heard that he's very upset, like from people that know him, that he's like one of his weaknesses is that he's susceptible to flattery. So.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So I don't know. You would hope, I don't, he was a huge part of the veil getting lifted, though.
Yeah, he was.
Huge part of it.
He was. He's the one who uncovered a lot of this stuff and realized how bad it was. Whenever you see the extremes that people are going to, that tells you right there that there needs to be change.
And
There's outrage coming across the aisle from the Democratic Party where they're like, the American people are seeing this witch hunt. Y'all have let this go until now.
Yeah.
Just when we get close to election time, then you want, like, people aren't as stupid as y'all think they are.
No,
Yeah,
Joe Manchin.
They do think we're stupid.
Joe Manchin got burned on that deal.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and he's not happy about it.
And
He's a good one that has sacrificed and made some uncomfortable decisions in order to do what's right.
Mhm.
There's a few of them in DC, but
We get into fake outrage, and the problem with fake outrage, and some good examples of it, is like Pride Month. These companies that do nothing to give to the gay community. Because I'm going to tell you, the gay community has taken a lot of chastising from every side of the aisle. For when my uncle grew up, you didn't talk about it. Because
honestly, when I was a kid, you didn't really talk about it.
And
I'm 39.
But here's where that outrage it's gone to the complete other side. Talk about who you are. Be who you are. But you're a human being first. Your sexual preference is not your identity.
But that's not what the masses are being told by people who have a vested interest in making them divided and angry.
like
I'm like this. Oh, you're gay? Great. You gonna grab that board and move it?
But most people feel
that way. I'm convinced that most people feel that way. Like it's and the ones that don't, like that genuinely just don't like gay people, for the most part, they're gonna leave you alone, and that's all you're required to do in a tolerant society. So, it's
and
Isn't that what we want? Is just to be left alone?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, isn't that independent liberty?
Yes.
Joe,
That's what I want.
we
grew up in a pretty redneck town.
Yeah.
Yeah, Huffman's pretty as redneck can be. And I'm going to tell you, even growing up in a redneck town, this is how, in my thought process, and I could be off, but this is how my home was. We're rednecks. I mean, I'm born and raised redneck, country boy. We never went out of our way to go after gay people.
I've told
We just want to be left alone and live our lives, and that's it.
I've had to tell this
to a couple of, I belong to a ladies chat online. It's a bunch of different artists. Like, we're all women, but we're in industries where our views are not usually tolerated so well. So it's sort of like a support group, but I've been talking to them for years, and there's quite a few minorities in there. And I was explaining to them just like last week, I was like, guys, I was raised in Texas. I'm about as white and Christian and like all of these demonized categories as it gets. I'm telling you right now, there aren't any white people, let's get together and plan to kill all the minorities meetings. Those don't exist. Like, it's just not true. Like, are there racist people in this world? Sure, but I've met a lot of racist black people too. And it's not race specific. And this concept that there's just a bunch of backwoods people in KKK hoods, like plotting how to kill all the minorities, it is not true.
Now, we had a little of that out here.
Do you?
We did.
I've grown up in Texas.
They used to have meetings on the road right over. The reason we know,
That's no good.
they would get lost and come down our road. And I had a buddy that moved down.
That shouldn't be tolerated either.
No, it
People
shouldn't.
Like that should be shouted down too.
Hate people who just hate for hate's sake are disgusting.
Well,
I guess my point
Despicable.
is, yeah.
Despicable.
I guess my point is this whole like idea that's being talked about all the time that there's this giant white supremacist conspiracy. It's not true. Like the people that act like idiots like that, they are hardly a or a majority of anything. Like they're just not a huge threat, and it's just a lie to make people angry that that a bunch of white people are trying to murder everybody and oppress everybody. It's not true.
I think the only truth of that would be, and there should be outrage, would be Planned Parenthood. They know exactly what they're doing, and that was
What a disgusting organization.
They're disgusting.
completely vile. And the undercover work that what happened to the
Try
outrage?
being a woman. Let me just tell y'all. Try being a woman and
I'm
saying
good.
that you're against Planned Parenthood. You wouldn't believe
I thought you meant-
some of the things I've been called and the things that have been said.
Just
to me.
some of the
Yeah.
things that are coming out about that. And I mean, just look at the history of it. You know,
It was founded by a huge open racist that wanted to eliminate black people.
Racist.
And all of their clinics are in low-income minority neighborhoods. Why do you think that is, guys? They want to kill you.
And they millions.
30 million black people dead since Roe.
Think how many Martin Luther Kings were aborted, how many Malcolm X's were aborted, how many people that, how many savants, how many musicians, how many great people, how many progenies have been wiped out from an evil organization.
How many Michael Jordans?
Absolutely.
You know?
Just, I mean, by the way, let's just get the outrage out there. If you think LeBron James is the GOAT, never watch this podcast again.
he's not Jordan.
He's not Jordan.
He's not Jordan.
And there will never be another Jordan.
Jordan will not be a Jordan.
ever.
I'm glad we got that out.
We
We
should
got
just
that
stop
out
calling him LeBron and start calling him not Jordan.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Not Jordan scored 30 tonight.
That's what they should call his shoes. What do you got? Not Jordan.
Not Jordan.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, we should copyright that.
Yeah, you should.
That's a good
Trademark.
one.
People
Yes.
would buy that. I would buy that just to be funny.
Not Jordans. We ought to see if that's available.
We might want to not publish this
Yeah,
podcast
that's
yet.
actually brilliant, dude.
Yeah, it
Could
is.
you imagine how angry that nasty little diva would be if everybody started calling him not Jordan? He would be so mad.
And we'd all be racist.
Well, I think I from hearing him talk sometimes, he's pretty dang racist.
He's He is one of the most horrible people in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a horrible prima donna. Just
Well, he's against slavery and cares about racial issues, but you licked China's rear end and they have open slave labor camps right now. Are you kidding me?
And
be gay over there.
Oh, you can't be gay
You
over
can't.
there.
You
Yeah.
and here's
You can't be black over there either. Han Chinese people are racist. They
Super
don't like
racist.
anybody but Han Chinese.
super racist. So the people that used to own years ago, they did not want black people in their restaurant. I'm dead serious.
Asians and black people have had a thing for a long time.
That's actually, remember that problem we were having with Asian hate, like all these hate crimes? It was mostly black men committing them.
I just realized
We're already at. We've been doing this for over an hour and a half now. As we wrap this outrage up, I want to say this to anybody who's listening: the outrage on finding heroes. LeBron James is not a hero. No basketball player is a hero. If you're wanting to create positive outrage in your home, become the hero in your home. Dad, you should be the hero. Your kids should look at you. Mom, you should be the hero. Say, look at these people that wake up every morning, take care of their family, take care of their kids, stick to themselves, and are productive members of society. Those are the heroes.
Heroes are people.
Sacrifice to stand up for what's right.
absolutely. I think that's a great place to end.
Mm-hmm.
Not Jordan's.
Not
Jordan.
Jordan.
I want it. I want that.
Trademark it.